From the News Channel 5 Network, this is Open Line.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Open Line. Glad you're with us on a Tuesday night. And tonight we're going to be talking about something we've talked about a few times, but it's really a good opportunity. If you are, say you're caring for somebody who's getting older, you yourself are getting older, what are some of the things you need to be planning for? What should you be putting in place? And so this topic, elder law, it's kind of like we're going back to an old friend. We have with us now via Zoom, as all of our guests are, Chris Johnson. He is there in his office in Hendersonville. Chris, thank you for being here.
Ben, thank you for having me.
All right, I always like to set the show off with just kind of your definition of what is elder law, because this is a chance for people to call in and ask you some questions, get some advice, but it should be focused on what elder law is, which this encompasses so much and it affects so many people. But how do you define it?
Ben, I define it as all those areas of the law that have a particular impact on the seniors in our community. And so everything from the things that people commonly think of for having powers of attorney, having good estate planning in your will, your revocable trust, doing probate work, and then on to things that people might not particularly associate with elder law. Medicaid planning, TennCare planning, Medicare counseling, making sure people are getting themselves on the right drug plan. It's really taking a look, and we kind of put it all together in a little nexus we call life care planning, and that's helping people take care of their legal, personal, and financial needs over time, and that's really what we're trying to do.
And so this does impact so many people, and what we encourage people to call in and ask a question, and oftentimes when somebody asks a question and you answer it, it helps other people. So there are other people that are going through these same things, so it helps when you call in and kind of share some portion of your personal story, ask a question. Here we are now in February. So we're after the holidays, and when Tim Takacs would come on, I'd always ask Tim, what are you seeing this time of year? Kind of what are some of the things that I used to say coming through your door? I don't know if that's happening as much now with COVID, but what are some of the things you're seeing this time of year? People coming up and asking for your assistance.
Yeah, that's a great question, Ben, and people are still coming through our door. We're fortunate to be working back in the office. We have very strict COVID protocols because people want to feel safe and feel secure, and when you're an elder law firm, your clientele is in that vulnerable community. And this year, I think, because of last year and because of COVID, it has been unlike any other year that we've had. And what we saw was, I think as 2020 wore on, people just didn't want to make any decisions. There was uncertainty. Is there going to be a vaccine? Isn't there going to be a vaccine? Are the facilities safe? Are the facilities not so safe? If I'm going to invite a caregiver into my home, is that safe? And people were really almost suffering from paralysis through analysis. They didn't know what the right answers were. We had an election year on top of everything else, and I think there was just a lot of stressors on every person's plate. And so what we've kind of seen in early 2021 has almost been like a little bit of a relief valve. People have been coming in and they've been reaching out and saying, it's time to make decisions. It's time. We've put this off. We've kind of persevered through this, but I think the vaccine's out. The election's over. People have certainty in their lives. And now people are like, now's the time. Let me get my ducks in a row. Let's come in, get our affairs in order, and make sure that we're planning for the future. Because as this certainty comes in, people feel more and more comfortable saying, I can chart a course for the future now.
When the show started, I used the example of maybe you're caring for an aging parent, an aging loved one. And so I ask you, what is your typical client? Is it somebody who is a child and their parent is getting older, or is it a couple, maybe a spouse, and the two of them together are aging? Who is your typical client?
That's a great question. I think our typical client are a husband and wife who are post-retirement, and they're looking to get their affairs in order. That being said, we get the whole gambit. We have kids that reach out and, hey, my parents are going to need some help, and they have power of attorney authority. We have the parents are coming in. We want to get our affairs in order for our children. We are really seeing the whole gambit. We have single people who are, hey, I need to make sure that my key players, because they don't have a spouse who's going to be there to be their power of attorney or to take care of them. And so it's a little more incentive for them to get things in order because it's a little less certainty. Maybe they have children living out of state. And so it's everyone who is getting to retirement age and over, and really there isn't so much a typical client as the client who comes in and says, I just need to get my affairs in order. I've put this off too long. Yes,
and your background is you're a veteran, right?
That's correct.
And so that is one of those areas where people maybe don't know all that is available. And that's one of the first questions you ask, right? You're trying to identify sources of benefits, of money, frankly, that people can access. And veterans, that's an important one.
It's a critically important one, Ben, and often an underutilized one because people don't know what they don't know. And yes, what we're looking to do is make sure that our clients who qualify have access to the resources that are out there, whether that be VA resources, whether that be TennCare resources. Sometimes it's their own resources that they don't even realize they qualify for. Some people will have a long-term care insurance policy and they don't realize it's time to trigger it. And you'd be stunned. People need guidance. They need that navigator in the dark, dark tunnel, because what they are going through is something, it's the first time they've gone through it. The aging process is something we're all going to go through just once. And if you don't have someone who has that as their area of expertise, you're kind of flying blind, so to speak. And you need someone to say, hey, are you aware of these resources over here? Do you know how to apply for them and how to be successful? Do you know how to plan for them in the future? VA is a huge resource. There's non-service connected pension, which is a means-based test. There is service-connected pension for people who have a nexus between some sort of malady and their service. And sometimes people don't know the difference and what that means. And so being that light, being that navigator for them, it really is a relief to the families, because they go, we have someone who knows what they're doing because we don't, and we're afraid that we're missing something or doing something wrong. They feel stuck, and being able to walk them through that, VA is a great starting point, and you want to cast a wide net, because any resource that's there that can make their lives better, that's what we want to do. We want to have clients with a very high quality of life.
And in a moment here, I'm going to start taking calls. So if you want to call in, there are a few open lines. Ricky, hold on. I'm going to take your call here in a moment. But when is the time do you think people should come in? So let's take two examples. Let's say I am caring for elderly parents. And so at what point should I start thinking about, whoa, I need to go in and talk to somebody there, an elder law attorney? And then the other scenario would be just I myself. I personally am getting older. When should an individual who is focused on themselves and trying to plan this out, map it out, what should be the event or the time? When should they come in?
The answer is very simple, Ben. It's now. The old adage, when's the best time to plant a tree? And the answer is 10 years ago. When's the second best time to plant a tree? And the answer is today. You never know what tomorrow is going to bring. The future is never promised. And when you put this off, you're just taking an unnecessary risk, because it's one of those things, when you get it done, it's taken care of. And that peace of mind that you have, I have powers of attorney in place, so no one in my family is going to have to file for a conservatorship and spend north of $10,000 for decisions that could have been made with a simple power of attorney being executed. With the parents, you're worried about 5-year look-back clocks on irrevocable trusts. you want to make sure on those long-term care insurance policies, you want to make sure they're claimed on immediately. And you don't know that unless you get in today. A lot of planning can be done. I always tell my clients, the sooner you're in, the better. And it really changes what you need. You know, I'm in my 40s, and for me and my family, an estate plan, just a little revocable trust, a little probate avoidance, that's going to take care of things. People start getting into the retirement age. We need some Medicare counseling. We may want to look at some irrevocable trusts for some asset protection. People who are getting older than that, now we're worried about possibly qualifying for TIN care, tapping into those VA benefits that you mentioned. And it's really a continuum of, shall we say, services. And the correct answer is to find that right service level, what that individual needs, and make sure that plan is tailored for them. That's what we're looking for. But everyone needs an estate plan. That's kind of the misnomer, is I just need that when I'm older. And it simply isn't the case. Everyone should have a will. Everyone should have powers of attorney. And then you can kind of grow out from there.
As the night goes on, I bet we'll talk about wills specifically, powers of attorney. It's all very interesting stuff. Let's go to Ricky. Hello, Ricky.
Hello.
What is on your mind?
Okay, I got a question about my mother-in-law. She's in a nursing home. Her daughter is home by herself. She's got control. Her mother's got control over her disability, and she can't have no access to it. And her mom's in a nursing home and it ain't got her money signed in her just got her mother signed on the bank statement, and she's trying to get her money out of the bank that she gets. How does she go about getting the money out if she ain't got no ID or ain't name on the bank account? How do you go about doing that, putting her name on the bank account if her mom's in a nursing home and she got to have her say so?
Right. Is she incapacitated? Is the mom incapacitated in a nursing home?
No.
Okay. All right.
And the daughter, Ricky, the daughter is on some type of disability. Is that what I heard correctly?
Ricky, he's asking, is the daughter on a disability? Is the daughter?
Yes.
Okay, the daughter is on a disability. Yes.
Okay, Ricky. So here's what's going on.
All right. Well, let's. All right, I'm going to put you on hold so we can. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. From what I'm hearing and understanding of the question, the daughter is on some type of disability, and it sounds like her mom was listed as maybe the rep payee, basically in charge of the account. For what reason, I think we're unsure at this point. And what has happened is mom has ended up in a nursing facility, and apparently it sounds like she may not be up to the task of managing the day-to-day affairs of that account. And without knowing all the details, what needs to happen is, it seems as though mom was put in charge of those funds for a reason, and that mom's going to have to pass that baton on to someone else. And so that's going to be reaching out to an attorney, getting an understanding of why this system, this process was set up for the daughter, for her benefit. And we want to make sure that that most likely needs and should be continued. It's getting the right person to take over the job for mom, and there probably is reaching out. My guess is it's probably something like SSDI through the Social Security office or SSI, and it's working with that Social Security office to get someone in charge of that account who is up to the task and not confined to a nursing facility. And so I'd probably start by reaching out to the Social Security office, figuring out why we're here, and then start looking to identify someone who can take over that job, who has the time and the abilities and frankly the stamina to take over the role and look out for the finances for the daughter.
Because that's a hard job, right? There's a lot of responsibility there, and that's a difficult thing.
all of these things, whether you're someone's power of attorney, if you're someone's trustee, someone's personal representative in their will, or a rep payee, these are fiduciary positions. You have an obligation to do what's in that individual's best interest, and they're work, and they can be stressful. Managing someone else's money is very stressful. Managing our own money can be stressful sometimes. Imagine managing it for another person, and they're going to have concerns, and they're going to have questions why you're spending it on this and not that. It's a tough job, and not for the faint of heart. It's got to be someone who gets it, who understands the importance of their role, who understands that they're there for a reason to protect this individual. So identifying that person is going to be critical to ensure that the plan that they already have in place continues to be successful here in the future.
All right. Now, I don't know if Ricky's still there. Ricky, does that answer your question?
Yeah, but she wanting it in her own name. But how does she get her money that's already in the bank out?
How does she get her money that's already in the bank out?
Well, that's going to be, again, I'm going on the assumption, Ricky, that basically a fiduciary was put in charge of the account for a reason. If it's with Social Security, she could go to Social Security and request for control over her money again. But my guess is if they have set up this system, again, that it was likely. How old is the daughter?
Let's see if we can find that out. How old is the daughter?
62 almost.
How much? How old?
62, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, my guess, Ricky, is that this was set up for a reason, and the odds of her getting control over those assets personally just might not be a viable option. I'm not saying it can't be, and I'm saying you always have the right to go and request it. I'm just not sure that they're going to agree to it. Again, when we put a fiduciary in charge of an individual's money, there was probably a reason why that was set up that way in the first place as far as the disability payments goes. And if that's the case, then it'll be pretty tricky. Now, if this is just something as simple as mom had power of attorney authority, then that would be a simpler task. But the reason I don't believe that's the case is because if mom was just acting under a power of attorney authority, the daughter would still have access to her own funds, because the power of attorney doesn't take the individual's right away from managing their own money. It just allows someone else to assist them in doing so. And in this case, the fact pattern you've provided, I just don't hear that. So if the benefits that we're talking about that are coming in are Social Security benefits, I would start by reaching out to the Social Security office and understanding why this was set up in the first place, and then ask them, because she does need help. At a minimum, we need someone else managing those funds. Whether or not there's the possibility or the option for her to get control over those funds in the future, I don't know. We don't have enough facts at this point, but it sounds like it's very clear there needs to be someone in charge other than mom, and that's starting out with the Social Security office, who put mom in charge of these funds, and how do we transition to the next person.
All right, very good. Ricky, thank you for that call. That's a good question.
Thank you, Ricky.
Yeah, that's the kind of question we want. So we're going to take a break. If you want to call in, there is the number, 615, there it is. See, look at that, 615-737-7587. 615-737-7587. We'll take a break. Be back right after this.